more about. As I learned about it myself, it was something that I wish that I had run into maybe, well, about 40 years ago. About the time I was born. But I think all of you will agree with us by the end of the show. We have some special guests that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. Before we do, we want to give credence to our advertisers and the people who allow us to be on the air. We would like to advocate that everybody go to Planet Beach and have a wonderful experience there with the massages, facials, and it's a one-time, a monthly fee of about, depending, $60–$70, and then you are able to have unlimited spa experience for a month. So up on 59th Avenue and Berend, which is 59th Avenue and the 101, and then Glendale Flowers, which has been wonderful enough to sponsor us, and they're just down the street on 59th Avenue and Glendale, in the heart of Glendale. They're a very quaint area. But I would like to introduce our special guests. We have Liesl and Bill and Steve, is that correct?
Steve here.
Yeah, Steve.
Jim there.
Jim, sorry, I got Jim's name wrong. Okay, Steve and Jim and Liesl. And of all the people to get the name wrong, it was the owner of the company. So my apologies. And Health Nation, we're going to let them do a much better job than I will of explaining what Health Nation does. But essentially, it's a monthly, for a small monthly fee, you're able to have unlimited access to telemedicine, teledoctors, whether they be MDs or holistic and medicinal doctors. It's just a great way to be able to get yourself healthy and ask all those questions that you're scared to ask. But let's have, well, actually, if you would like to tell us a little bit more about Health Nation and how how did it get started? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what gave you that vision to start Health Nation.
Well, that's an interesting question. Health Nation has really just started from a need. My partners and I are parents of small children, and getting in to see a doctor or having choices to see a doctor on weekends or evenings just doesn't exist. You're either going to wait in line, sitting in a germ-infested waiting room with your primary care physician, or you're going to end up going to urgent care late at night and spending $200–300, waiting 3 hours, or if you can't find an urgent care, as in the case with my wife and I, with our second child, you end up in the ER room at midnight and you're waiting 3 hours, you're paying a $1,600 bill just to find out that there's really nothing wrong with them, they just have a high fever due to a virus. So, we knew there had to be a better way. So I was introduced to the concept of telemedicine, which really is nothing more than 24/7 access to a primary care physician, and in our case we've also added naturopathic doctors.
That's great, and it is 24 hours.
It's 24/7.
So amazing.
365 days a year.
Also amazing, the things that happen on Christmas Day.
That's true. There's some stories about that for sure.
Absolutely. And a lot of people have heard of a nurse hotline. There's two major distinctions between what we do and those. And the first major distinction is you talk to licensed, board-certified doctors. So you're not talking to a nurse, and there's nothing wrong with a nurse, but there's a limited capabilities of what they're allowed to do.
Sure.
So that's the first distinction. The second distinction is, in most states, and currently 49 states, they can diagnose and prescribe over the phone as needed. And so you really are able to take care of the need that you were going to have to go urgent care or you were going to have to wait at your doctor's or ER. You can take care of it from the comfort of your own home. So we have a 3-hour return call guarantee. You will call into our service. You will be triaged as if you went into a doctor's office. You will then be given your phone number, your medical history, update, and then we end up having a doctor or naturopathic doctor, if that's what you choose, contact you within 3 hours. Our average time is 21 minutes currently, and it's only at 21 minutes for a return call because of middle of the night. On the weekends may get up to 2 hours. Okay. If you were to call during the day, it's usually 2, 3, 4, 7, 10 minutes. Wow. And so you're able to really handle things quickly and really get on with your life, and just as important, save a tremendous amount of time and money.
And I would add something there. The quality of the interaction is exceptional. when we go to a doctor's office, when we find ourselves pinned into urgent care or an emergency room, generally speaking, that doctor's coming in with a clipboard or a file, check, check, oh, yep, this is what you need. How's the family? See you later. I think national statistics say the average visit in a primary care physician's office is about 4 to 6 minutes of FaceTime. And Jim keeps current on the actual statistics of our call times, but not simply as someone who is out there. I like to tell people this is spreading the good news. This is something everybody should hear, and I'm out there every day getting the word out. But I've experienced it firsthand, being on the phone with a naturopath for 30 minutes or being on the phone with an MD for 15, 20 minutes. And I think the average time is 15, 16 minutes, right? These calls are lasting that long. That's 4 times the national average. And at the end of the day, one of the great things about the service is each of those calls are actually recorded and encrypted in a HIPAA-compliant environment, so we, the end user, can go back and play back the information that may be beneficial. I can't think of how many times we've been to the doctor's office where we get our questions answered and then we're like, what did they say? Well, now we actually capture all that. And this whole process, it's really shifting the way Americans are thinking about wellness. You know, we tend to be reactive when we're diseased or have disease. Well, now really we can be proactive and speak to doctors anytime, not simply to get a diagnostic, as Jim's mentioned, but to be consultative. I have heart history in my family, and about almost a year ago had a CT cardiac angiogram, learned about cholesterol, all these things in a proactive, preventative way, that generally speaking, we don't think of the doctor as a resource unless we're sick. And so getting people to shift the way they're thinking is really helping to promote wellness, not just responding to illness.
It's truly turning healthcare to self-care. I don't know if my mic's on, but healthcare to self-care, taking a real proactive approach instead of, it's a lot more expensive to get healthy versus stay healthy. So now it's taking back that control and being able to just come, like Steve mentioned, from a very proactive approach. So
absolutely. In fact, if we look at one huge problem with our healthcare system, it's just the fact that we are doing things that are making us unhealthy. If we were able to do things that make us healthy voluntarily, because we all love freedom of choice, we are able to have the ability through a natural path to be able to learn, or I hate to say this, unlearn the many things that have been taught us that are just not true about health. For example, that we should eat 10 times as many carbs as we eat of any other type of food category.
And we wonder why we have no obesity.
Yeah, we wonder why. And there's so much disease related to obesity, and nobody likes to be obese. And so if we are able to learn ahead of time before we become obese, just some very small things that if we eat fruits and vegetables as opposed to quite so many carbs, fruits and vegetables, and especially fruits, are a lot of fun to eat, even if you have cravings like I tend to do sometimes. So anyway, a great way to reduce the overall cost of healthcare. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about how you might be able to get involved in an organization like this and some of the benefits of that. And so we thank again all our listeners for tuning in to the Social Universe, where you're able to learn about the Health Nation. Let's end the segment with a website if anybody wanted to go check that out.
Well, they can view a digital brochure, and they can view that at Dr. On Call 24/7. That's Dr. On Call 247, and that's a full digital brochure. They're able to view all the different features. There's many of them, as well as the services.
And that's a .com, correct?
Mm-hmm. .com.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll come back after this commercial break, and again, thanks for tuning in.